95 degrees my machine was averaging while gaming. With the fans fitted, it made a drastic change, brought it down 22 degrees. It's now coming in at 75 on average, and just tends to drop into 74, 73 every now and again. Brilliant modification to the machine. Will make it last for a lot longer. Okay, so now I'm going to be marking up the Dell 2320 to cut some holes in the back of it so that we can get those fans that you've seen installed. To make a neat job of this, you need to mask off the area so that you don't have a chance of scratching the plastic. To do that, I've got some wide masking tape, and I'm going to use one of the fan grills to actually help me mark out the positioning for the fan. I'll just start applying the masking tape to the area that's needed. This is either side, and then once we've got the masking tape roughly on, we'll measure it all up. Going to line it up against this nice line on the actual case here, and then smooth it into place. I'm obviously not too concerned about the neatness of this, as we're going to be cutting through it. Right, so we've got the masking tape on. I'll do the same with the other side. Right, now we're going to fit these fans. I want them as high up on the back of the case as I possibly can. What we're not looking for is, if the fan's situated too high, just here you've got enough to allow the fan to rock, because the case bends. So it's a case of bringing it down and finding a position where there's a little bit of give. I mean, we are going to mount it with those rubber vibration absorption mounts, so it will be quite flush, and of course it will be on the rubber gasket as well, so it should hold it, but about there should be fine. Now obviously that's a rough guess. If I bring the camera up and have a look at what that actually does look like, on the case, and then what I'll do is, once I've got a rough guide like this, we'll swap it for the actual grill, measure it out a bit more accurately, and mark it up. Right, okay, so there's our rough fan position. You'll notice the fan's the other way up than it should be, but I did find when positioning it that these wires pushed it up and were making it wobble while I was trying to actually find a position where it wasn't supposed to be wobbling. Right, now what I'm going to do is find out where I'm going to position the fans. So I've took the liberty of removing the screws prior, which, as you know, are just the 6 screws that are down at these points. I'm going to take this off the casing. And then I'm going going to remove the mount, and you'll see why this is the actual stand mount. Let's remove those screws. There's only two, as you know. Pull it down. As you pull it down, it comes off these clips. Right, I'm going to remove the main unit out of the way, leaving us with just the back and the stand itself and a fan. Right, now right, before we continue, let's look at fan positioning. We're trying to produce airflow to cool down the bigger processor that I've put in. If you look at some of the previous videos, you'll see how to install that. These machines can fail a lot of the time. It's due to the graphics processor overheating, and Dell had quite a few of them back because of that. What we're attempting to do is create further airflow over this to allow airflow to get in. You've probably noticed that on the back of the actual Dell it's all sealed off. There are tiny little vents along the bottom, which is a bit bizarre because it basically allows the air to flow in here, go up here, be pulled in through the fan and out. Now, although it does pass across these devices, there's no real direct flow through them or into them, etc. The same was found with this unit here at the top. You'll see another video where I've drilled it to allow the heat to warm up in here and go out through. I mean, it was going onto the copper pipes, but obviously as much air as you can get out the top of the machine, the better. Right, we're going to look at seating these. One of the things you've got when you've got this unit in is the fact that you can't put your fan too close to this edge, because what you'll find is you're going to be putting it where you can't really get to put screws in behind or any mounts. So we're going to have to seat it away from that. And again, if you're looking at where you're positioning your fan, if you look over towards the graphics processor, when you place the fan in position and lift it back a bit, that's what you're going to be able to see through the actual fan and the grill. So it's nice and metallic, you know, there's not a great deal to see. If we were over this position, you'd see a lot of innards and be a bit of a nasty look. You could of course put some sort of air filter on the inside so that you can't see through it as much, and on this side you're going to see a little bit of that circuit board, perhaps some of that cable. Most of what you can see is silver. You could of course put something over the top of the circuit board to disguise it if you didn't want that in the actual view, although when these fans are spinning and lit up, it's very doubtful that you'll see anything through them apart from colour. Right, so we're left with our back panel, our mount for the back, and a fan. Now the reason I've took this off is it provides a very good inset. If you turn it upside down, slide it into position as it would be in the case, it almost gives you an idea of where these tabs are. Now you can literally take a pen and mark out where the tabs are. Inside your case. So if you remove that, that's the location of the actual tabs. What I'm going to do is I would like my fan to be situated probably with the bottom corner lined up with the bottom edge of this. I think that's going to provide me with just the right amount of stability for the fan to stop it from wobbling. It is going to be up on this very top corner, but because it's mounted on rubber washers, that sort of depth, and the fact that it's on a gasket, it should actually help it. Right, so I've got my markings. I'm going to place a ruler across the lines that we've created. And then I'm going to mark along there for where I would like the base of my fan to go. And the same on the other side. Right, now just so you can see those markings that we've created, there they are. That shows the actual tab, and the tab slightly that's below it. Now we're going to place the grill onto that line to give us the holes for where we need to be drilling. Right, let's mark some holes. So I know that I can put this down into this corner because I know it's not going to touch that tab, and I know that I can line it along this bottom line. If I line the grill up with this bottom line, it provides me with several holes. These holes are very easy to actually mark where you should be drilling. So that gives me the 4 screws, and for the centre, right, so removing that, as you can see, I've got the centre pin and the 4 screws. Right, I'm going to do the same on the other side, and I'm probably going to then highlight it a little more with an actual marker. Right, now you should be able to see the dots that I've made for the screws down there, and then in the centre the marking for the centre of the fan. That's for the hole saw to cut through, and on the same side I have the same hole for the centre. Then I have my holes marked for the mounting screws or vibration mounts like we're about to use. Right, next you'll be seeing me drill some holes. Right, now I would have said that I'm pretty sure about some of my points, but it might be an idea to measure between some of these edges just to make sure, you know, 27.5mm, that you're pretty on spot with some of the other dots. I don't know if you can see that, but you're probably on about 27.5mm again, and just basically go around and check that you've got it right. Right, I'm going to take the back through to the workshop or whatever and drill some holes. Right, okay, let's go through what I'm going to be using. I'm going to be using 2 clamps, obviously to hold down the back. I'm going to be using an automatic centre punch to put some holes in the dots that we've just drawn. I've also readied on another area 3 lumps of wood. They're used to support the back. They're just a bit of rough chipboard snapped up to support the actual back when we put it on and we clamp it down. Now here's the all important bit, courtesy of eBay, at a very low cost. Just basically a set of hole saws. You've got various types, but what we're looking for is the biggest that we can get out of here. This one, unfortunately, just slightly too big. This one probably just enough, which is 102 mil, compared to 120 of the fan, leaves about a centimetre, 10 millimeters either side. Anyway, we'll put these together and we'll use this item to drill through. You want another drill bit, which I have here. Let's just break it out of the bag, we don't need the bag. And that's 3/16, which will just take us through the actual holes. In fact, you'll find if you push the end of that into the hole on your fan, you'll find it slides in nicely. The reason we're doing them that size is so that we can pull the mounts through, and they'll fit quite snugly. You could do it just slightly bigger if you wanted, but it really depends how loose you want the mounts. On the case that we're doing, we want them as tight as possible, because although we're using rubber mounts, we don't want the ability to catch the fan and for it to just come loose off the back of the system. So we're going to use a drill that's as small as the hole to kind of stop that. Okay, I'll assemble the hole saw and I'll show you clamping up now. Right, okay, let's look at clamping the back up. I'm going to take our 3 pieces of wood. They're going to support the inside so that it doesn't bounce around. Here's our back, so the wood's going to sit here where the actual fans are going to be cut, and that's going to give it support so that you can push down on it, because obviously you've got these ridges here which stop it from fully touching the wood, which is probably not the best position, so that's going to support that. What I'm going to do is turn it around, get it into position, and I'm going to bring it towards the edge. By bringing it towards the edge, I have created let's get the clamp in. I'm going to clamp that as tight as I dare, I suppose. You know, I mean, obviously you're not looking for anything like the make sure, like me, that the wood has not moved, which is what that has done, it's split, so make sure that they're together. I suppose one of the easiest ways would be to shove a bit of tape around them prior, so that you know it's not going to move while you're doing this, because obviously movement's not good. So we'll get that in, tighten up, get another in the edge, tighten that up. Right, now you see we've got a bit of movement, but once we get the drill pushing down on that, we should lose that movement. We're going to use the automatic centre punch to mark the holes, and I'll zoom in a little bit with the camera so that you've got an idea of what that's going to be like. Right, so let's start with the centre punch. Right, obviously you just place it down on the point in question, Nice couple of sharp jabs should put a dent into the spot that you marked, just so that the drill, when you start drilling, doesn't slide around on the surface. Right, so I'll just mark the rest of these. That's one. Four. Well, that's the holes marked up. Now we need to look at getting a drill out. Right, one of the things I've decided to do, which is different to the explanation of what you need earlier on, is to use a small pilot drill to actually drill the holes in advance to make sure that we're maintaining accuracy on it, because accuracy is going to be very important. Right, there are pilot holes. Right, now with the larger drill bit, I'm just going to go through those with the right size. For the screws. Or the rubber vibration mounts is what you're using here. Right, now we've drilled the smaller holes with of course a smaller drill. Now we're going to use a bigger drill. Reason for that is when you're using the cordless drills, if the battery runs out during this process, you're going to be very upset because you're going to get the drill bit stuck, or it's not going to come out the way that you want it. So of course we're going to use an electric drill while we're doing this. I'll just adjust the camera so you can see better. Alright, now let's use the drill. I've put it on a slow speed, so if you can see that, that is as fast as it goes. I'm going to oil up the actual thing. Now the reason that I'm doing this is, again, we get the friction. If the hole burns, then you're going to get burning plastic, etc., which is going to cause you tend to get stuck. You've all seen the big CNC machines or something similar which cut and use a lot of oil, so we're using oil to cut this. There we go, we're through. We've hit the board, we can feel the board behind, and as you can see there's plenty of room for now you can slow and pause between it, you don't need to go nuts with your speed. Now I can smell burning there, which is obviously the casing, but we'll see how far we're through. We'll let it go a bit. Let's go a bit more. Right, that sounds like it's cut all the way through. You can hear the circle going around underneath, which means that it's gone all the way through the hole that we wanted to do. We'll now remove the hole saw with the bit. Here we have our hole, here we have our section. So, I'll not pull that out, but we're going to clean it up. Right, now we're back at the table. You'll see this is one of the holes that we cut. Now, if you can see that, there is an edge where the plastic has just forced itself out, and you can literally kind of nip it off with your fingers. Could use a Stanley blade at this point, but you can see that this edge just kind of comes off. What I'm also going to do, once I've got all this off and I've cleaned it up, I'm going to use a Stanley knife. I'll not do it here because obviously if I damage the table. I'm going to push in that direction and cut these off at an angle so that they're not sharp as they are now, for if I ever go in the case again I don't want to catch myself on any of these. Right, I can find a cloth and we'll probably need some sandpaper and we'll start cleaning this up. Right, okay. Because it was a messy job, I've cleaned some of it up outside just to make sure that I'm not going to make such a mess of the room. I took all the burr off, and I don't know if you can see from that, I've took that down at an angle so that it's nice and smooth and out of the way. I'm going to flip it over. There's the back. And we'll start to take off the tape that we masked it off. As long as you're using something that's low tack, you know, such as mastic or perhaps even low tack plastic, anything will do for masking this off. What you don't want is to put something on the back and then discover that it's so difficult to take off that it becomes a challenge. Again, you've got edges on here where it's gone. It is perhaps a good idea just to get a Stanley knife, carefully take that burr off. You could use, if you're not so keen on using a Stanley knife, perhaps a little rasp or something similar to that. Right, I'll clean the rest of this up. Right, so you see that we've got 2 holes, and I've got some sandpaper and going carefully around the holes, being careful not to scratch the back, of course. Happy that those holes are nice and tidy. I'll give it a clean just to make it nice and shiny, and then we'll see about putting in some fans. Right, okay, what I've done is I've just placed the back on a second, just so we can see where the fans are positioned. Here, we're right over the GPU and the CPU, and this will help that GPU cool down. But you know, the little fan that was on there wasn't adequate enough. This should blow air in there, take it out the top and out the bottom, obviously, cooling the RAM as it goes down. Over this side we've got the DVD writer and the hard drive. The hard drive within this system gets quite hot. It's totally encaged in metal, and it's not an aluminium type metal. It is an alloy, but it just gets hot. you can take it off after a day's use, and it's roasting in there, so the heat within there should help. That'll make it a lot better, a lot cooler, and hopefully aid the longevity of the all-in-one. Right, okay, so I've unclipped the back again. What we're going to do now is I'm using, instead of the actual casing screws, I'm using some rubber grommet type things to stop the vibration. These are readily available. You will probably need more than what you actually get with your fans, so I've obviously ordered 8 more to give me 16 in total. 4 for this side and 4 for the side where the grill's going to go. What we'll do now is start work on actually putting the fans together. Right, so here's one of our fans. What we're going to do is push the grommet through like we can see here. So you've got the larger side which goes back to the to that end, that side. We're going to poke that through, hold it nice and taut, get a screwdriver and literally push the rubber down the hole using the screwdriver until all of a sudden you'll feel it actually pop through to the other side with a bit of a pull. There we are, and that's one through to the other side. Do all 4 to make sure that's done, and then all 4 on the reverse side of this, giving you the 8 points or whatever. Then we can put the grills on top. I'll do all these grommets first, then I'll come back to the grills. Right, halfway there. Just took some time to put these in. Turn them over, put the other 8 in. Right, okay, so I've got the all the 16 of those in. I'm now going to put my grills on to protect the fans. They're done literally by just pulling those through, actually nice and yep, that's fine. Another one of these. Make sure you get it the right way up. Right, okay, let's go and fasten them to the casing. Right, now the next part is going to be quite tricky. Reason it's going to be tricky is you're now reduced to just this angle and that angle that you can push this through this small hole that we've drilled here. So I'm going to reposition the camera or whatever, and I'll try and get one of these through so that you can actually see it. Right, okay, before I push one of these through, I'll just show you that I've took the cables out of this edge here. Obviously because they're not going outside the case, they're going inside, so they're now inside. And they'll go thread through the hole and go in that direction. Right, okay, let's have a go at putting through one of these grommets. So we're pushing it in. You need to get a bit of pressure from the back and kind of pull as you're pushing. It is going to be more difficult, so you will have to put a bit of pressure on from the back. May take some time to get them through. Trying to work it through from the back at the same time. It's almost there. We're nearly there, folks. Try something just a bit smaller. What I'm trying not to do is use something that's too sharp, because what we don't want to do is put a hole in this rubber and tear it. I'll show you the other side just so that you can see how through it is. It's almost, but not quite. Right, there we go, one. Quite difficult, as you'll see. You've got 8 of these to do, so I'll do a few more and get back to you. Right, so I've just finished the first fan. As you can see, it's got the 4 things through, and the wires are on the inside, which will head off down through this section here. Down at the bottom we'll put a nick in there and the controls will come out this bottom edge. I'll just do the other fan and we'll have a look at what they look like from the front. Right, okay, so I've got them on. Took quite a while. I would have said one of the most difficult parts of it is trying not to scratch the case. Unfortunately I have a couple of times, but it's luckily under the edge where the actual fans are. The difficult part is that you're trying to push through here with no access to it, and I'm pulling at the back. It could be something later on that you would either probably use black casing screws, in which case you won't be able to see them, but it's the vibration problem. I think you could drill your holes slightly bigger to allow the rubber to slip through a lot easier. Right, okay, so we're on to the power. Now we've got this, we're going to use the yellow and black ones. Going to cut them off from here, and then we're going to attach them to the 12-volt cable that goes to the hard drive. Firstly, we're going to remove this from the system. There are 6 screws, 4 of them located inside this tray, 2 of them located top edge inside the tray. You should then be able to take this tray and lift it straight out of the way. Right, this enables us to get to this cable, which is the 12-volt for the hard drive. What we're going to do is take some of this black shielding off all the way to this sort of part. Then we're going to take these and attempt to actually attach them using two of the Scotch lock clips to both the yellow and common of the 12 volt. Right, now in a previous dive into this machine I've actually had a tear at this cable, which hopefully through, oh yeah, there we go. So what I'm saying is I've scored it very, very carefully to the point where I've almost gone through, and then I've took a bit of a nail to it and actually torn into it, rather than actually using any device or taking it all off. And we're going to literally take off an area that we would like to use. You can of course at this point use a bit of a knife to score it, and perhaps do it into something a bit neater. Can roll those two back. Right, now what we're after here is a yellow and black. Obviously it's difficult to tell which one is the common to the 12 volt, but the obvious fact in most cases is it doesn't really matter, because of course common probably makes exactly the same place on the motherboard as both. So, but what we will do is we'll do a test with a multimeter at some point just to see if we're going to get the right two. Okay, so what I've done is I've actually stripped it all the way back so that I can actually find out which one is the common for that 12 volt line. 12 volts obviously yellow, by the way, and the 5 volt is red. Right, okay, so from the 4-fan adapter that we had, we've cut two ends off, bared about 1 centimetre of each of the wires, wound them together, so we've got two blacks, two yellows together to give us the bits to put inside the Scotch lock to fasten onto the wire. Right, now I'll put one of these in position and then I'll film it actually going through. Okay, right, so let's put one of these Scotch lock clips on. Right, I've started with the black because obviously there's no chance then of mixing the two blacks up again. I'm going to make sure the cable is going that way, so the dead end of that is going to go to this side. I'm going to put in the black cable into the entrance of that. Start with that, should slide up and down. I'm then going to take my other black cable and looking to see that that cable needs to go in about that to cross over. I'm going to push that inside so I know that it's gone over. Then I'm going to force that down with my fingers just to make sure that it's in place and I'm happy with it. Which it is. Then I'm going to grab a pair of pliers and squeeze it down into position, which should lock in the two wires then together, and that should give us a connection. Now there is a way to test that it's got a connection, which is via a multimeter, rather than saying that that's it and locking the clip over, but because I'm sure of what I'm doing, I'm actually going to just lock the clip over. This, by the way, provides a very secure connection in the fact that even if this touches anywhere within the casing, there's nothing for it to actually short against. I'll do the yellow one and we'll get back to doing something else. Right, okay, so that's the second one on. So now we've got our power connectors for the two fans. They're both facing the right direction. I'm going to literally put that back where it was with the unit back in place, which should go in over the top of these. Take a bit of jigging, so I'll just put it in and then I'll put the camera back on. Right, okay, so we've got our two power connectors coming out from just under here, nicely pinned in by the metal restraint that was holding the wires in the first place. Okay, right, what we're going to do is we're going to deal with the wiring now. I've used NMAX Vegas Duo fans, which have a lot of LEDs on them, just because I want it to kind of look nice. Depending on what fan you use, you'll obviously end up with a power for the fan. You've also got on this fan a controller for the lights, which is this. You've also got a variable speed, because I chose variable speed because obviously at some point when it's not really in use I can turn the fans right down. If I get to the point in like a hot summer or something like that and I need the fans to be higher, I can turn them higher. And what I'm not going to be left with is fans whirring at full speed all the time or whatever, sounding a bit like a jet engine taking off. So I've chosen something that I can actually slow down. What I'm about to do is cut some holes in this grill here to be able to sight these, probably one around there and then the thing around there. I try and get a bit of a close-up of me actually cutting into those because it's quite easy. Right, I've decided that I'm cutting the sixth one on here, so I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and all I really need to do is just force the knife through the edge, and that will provide me with the ability to be able to slide a cable through this section here. That'll provide me with one, and then further along from there I'm going to cut another one which will allow me to sight the other thing, and I'll give you a quick demo of what that would look like, and then we'll give it a bit of a tidy up. But I'll basically push those cables through there, sight that like that. These cables pushed in reverse will go through that side and will be sighted like that. And that basically gives us the ability. What I'll do is I'll use a bit of sticky back plastic, tape, etc. to pin those down, and I'll tie the cables up. Right, so this is one side with the switches, and then across there I have the other side with the switches and the cable tied it up. Now all we need to do is get the power over to the power sockets that we put in earlier. Right, okay, we're back with the actual system. Got two power leads which we're going to use right now. Plug the fans in. This is final stage, putting the back on. I've put the kickstand back on. That's done by just pushing it down, pushing it up, and then putting the screws in on the left and the right. I'm going to show you how the back goes on. It's going to be a case of just putting it on normally into its position. We're going to then take the cables, wrap them up into balls and then push them underneath where the processor fan is. Try not to get my hands in the way so that you can see a bit better. Now I'm pushing that under there. I've then got one of these power cables which I'm going to plug in, like so, and I'm going to take that and again position it underneath where the processor is so that it's as out of the way as possible. I'm then going to use the other cable, which again I'm going to sort of roll into a ball. Now the reason I'm putting these into like balls or not tying them up completely is because when you pull the backs off these systems you have to jerk it up. If you were to jerk it and we tie wrapped this wire and it was to pull sharply, you might break it from the actual fan, or you may even damage your wiring internally. So we're putting them in this way and plugging them in and tucking them down so that if you ever have to go back into the system, etc., you're not running the risk of pulling these wires out and damaging them in a way that would be unfortunate. Right, so we're just going to move this stuff out of the way. Back's going on. Now we've not got a proper clip there, so I'm going to pull that back up and actually have a look at what might be holding it from going. And it could be the fact that on this bit where we've got the thing, these two are catching, so I'm going to bring one of them a bit further back out of the way and try once more, and that's a bit better. Right, so that's the back on the system. Right, I'm not going to film putting the 6 screws in because we don't know how to put 6 screws in the back. Next you'll see the system set up and we'll turn on the fans. Right, okay, I'm going to turn the system on. I've set the fans to the lowest setting. The fans are on now. Don't know if you can hear them, but they are incredibly quiet. Good, no vibration. I'll put on some of the lights. I'll put it on a setting where there are no lights. There's the switch under that edge. There you go, folks, two blue fans spinning. The reason I've fitted these obviously is that you can have a variety of settings to make the system look different. Right, I'll also run a couple of demos so that we can see what the difference is for the GPU, which was the aim of the game in the first place. I should imagine it's dropped at least 10 degrees.
Without the fans, the machine was averaging 95C when gaming. This isn't acceptable for any lengthy operation or whatever, and could have caused damage to the GPU or the machine to be irresponsive or blue screen. Once the holes were cut in the machine, a test was done just using the vents. This showed that the vents themselves dropped it to around 84-85C, which was a good drop considering there are no fans or anything like that. If you do the fan modification, you further drop the GPU temperature down to on average around 75C. That's a drop of almost 20 to 22 degrees depending on the climate around the outside of the machine. This is a picture of the machine with just the grills fitted. It did drop the machine by a good 10 degrees, so you could go for this option. However, the fans were exceedingly silent, and it was a good idea to actually fit them. I think the colours look brilliant, and the machine itself looks and stands out a lot more than it ever did. My back's exposed because it's on a big table in the centre of the room, so it really looks nice. Thank you for watching the video. If you try this mod, I hope it all goes well. Thank you.